Hey everybody, Shane Presley here. Thank you for tuning in to another new episode of Rock Paper Podcast. A couple things I want to tell you about. Tuesday night, March 10th, we'll be out at Naked Vine for this month's singer-songwriter storytelling showcase. Bringing along Jonathan Brady of the Jonathan Brady Band, Vince Puzo of Morning Mountain, and Haley Woolbright. It's a $10 cover, 7 o'clock show. All three writers sitting on stools, playing their songs acoustically in a listening room setting, telling the stories behind all your favorites. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. If you haven't been out there yet to Naked Vine, you've been missing out. It's a cool spot. Again, we do the show once a month, every second Tuesday, so come on out there. But, swing by and visit my friends out there at Naked Vine in Chesterfield, serving up all kinds of wine, whiskey, tequila, and local craft beers. Big week this week, again, with the Songwriter Show on Tuesday. On Wednesday, March 11th, you can see David Terry out there. On Thursday, and every Thursday is their vinyl spin night, Vinny's Vinyl Night out there. And on Friday, March 13th, Falling Martins. Saturday, March 14th, Circle the Wagons. And you can find everything else at nakedvine.net. Be sure to follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, big shout out to High All Sound for their support, making this show sound great. Visit highallsound.com today. Also wanted to say thank you to Roughneck Beard Company and American Rambler. You can stop by their shop located in Maplewood, Missouri, right over there off of Manchester. They have all sorts of wonderful beard products, from your beard oils, beard balms. They even have this junk powder for your junk and all kinds of great stuff going on over there. So stop by and visit them or shop online 24/7 at roughneckbeardcompany.com and use my code RPP15 today for an exclusive 15% off your purchase. So big thanks to them and their support. Also, if you haven't yet, I do have some brand new stocking caps still available. I have some ball caps. I got some t-shirts, all kinds of fun ways to represent for a Rock Paper Podcast. So if you'd like, if you'd be interested in any of that, or just want to say hi or anything, feel free to hit me up on the email, rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you've been listening to, what you think of the show, all that fun stuff. So, that's it for me. I appreciate you all for continuing to listen and support this show and telling the friends about it. So thank you so much for that, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
This is Jordan Phoenix, and you're listening to the Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
This is beat paper, paper covers rock. Rock beats, scissors, Shane covers non-stop. Never know what new kind of guest that he's got coming at you. Live and direct on the spot. Could be rock, folk, country, or hip-hop, jazz. All kind of folks that he has. Could be an artist or a comedian to make you laugh on the
Rock Paper Podcast.
double-decker fudge round, rolling round town. Shane coming at you live and direct from ground zero. He's your hero, he's your bestie. Rock Paper Podcast with Shane Presley.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today with Jordan Phoenix.
Hello, hello.
Hey man, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is cool, man. I'm really glad to be here. This is we got to talking a little bit off the mics here, but we kind of been running in the same scene and circle of people and friends and bands and for a long time, but this is our first time really getting to
face
hang
to face.
out.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird how St. Louis works like that sometimes, where we can we just always like probably in the same room, but we just never ran.
Yeah, you can't talk shit on people because you know, there's a good chance that they're like sisters sitting next to you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and if you don't know them now, you'll know them in 5 years. You know.
Yeah, I get a lot of that in my work too. Like I realized, like I did that one time, actually not long ago, and I got caught doing it, and I felt real bad, and I tried to pedal out of it, but I was saying something about a particular coworker, and that we don't really get along too well, and I said some things, and they were like, "Oh, that's my mom," and I was like, "Oh shit!" So I was like, "I mean, you know." So.
Dude, I'm really bad about that, and I have been my whole life. And I don't know. I feel like I'm working on it, but it's also like it's jokes. I mean, that's a big thing. I should preface too. Anything I say to you today, I only half believe 60%.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was just been talking about that with somebody. You know, and like this kind of like the cancel culture of, you know. It's kind of scary, you know, because you're like, especially with these podcasts, like whatever you say lives on. But like, you know, I've done interviews with people that are very guarded in what they have to say,
right?
And it equals a really boring interview, you know.
Yeah.
It's like if you go out there and you say something kind of wild, you don't. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I get that, like, and that's kind of what I always wanted to do about the podcast too, is where you're free to speak, and it's a long form, and it's exactly that. Like, I don't go through and cut it up, you know. Like you watch the news and they like cut exactly what they want to play, and then like sometimes the audio drops out and you'll see their mouth keeps moving and stuff. Yeah, and it's like, but they only showed you what they wanted to show you, and it's like for me, I was like, this is exactly your thoughts, how you wanted to say it, and everything. So it's like that's what I always enjoyed about the podcast format and stuff.
Well, the problem for me is that I'm not even sure that it's the way that I want to say it. It just comes out, but you know, you're just like,
right.
You just become comfortable with like, you know, I'll have another chance to correct myself later. You know what I mean? Like, I think people hopefully just know that you're not coming from a bad place, and things are funnier if you're loose, you know?
Yeah, man.
So
I think that's where like Howard Stern's like the best of that, man. Like, everybody gets comfortable on his couch and forgets they're doing a radio show, and then like
he's a sneaky fucker though, because he'll get your guard down and get you to talk some shit. But I mean, I like it, and obviously that's why he is the father of radio. You know,
yeah, he's one of the best for sure. I don't ever like you know, plan to be anything like Howard Stern, but like he's a huge inspiration for me wanting to do this show. I mean, just like listening to him since I was like, you know, 18 or whatever, something.
Yeah.
And then before that, I was watching the E! Show. It was hard to listen to the show whenever you're in high school and things. So, but anyway, man, let's take it back.
Introduce me, goddammit.
For sure.
Nobody knows who the fuck I am.
We got a lot to cover because you're a busy man all over the place. With you know, obviously you do your own podcast, the Jordan Phoenix Show. You've been
clever name, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you come up with an idea like that.
Took me a while, but I locked it in.
Shit, kicking mic stands, and everything. And you work creating music videos and all kinds of film work and things. So a lot of different things you've been a part of in St. Louis music and stuff. And so I kind of wanted to go back to the beginning, though, where all this kind of gets going. You grew up around here in St. Louis? Or?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I was born in Oregon, but lived here since I was like 1. So, I mean, it's basically, you know, it's home.
Yeah, for sure, man. I live a little outside of the city, but I still call St. Louis home. And
sure.
It's been here all my life, so.
Yeah.
It was kind of wild, man. I just was thinking about that the other day. Like, I went to that Chuck Berry tribute that was happening at Del Mar Hall.
Okay.
Mike Zito put together a record of all these
Zito. Fuck that.
Yeah. Did a whole record of Chuck Berry tunes.
Oh, wow.
And like a different great guitar player on every track.
Dude, I've been listening to Mike Zito since my very first band when I was in 7th grade. We recorded at Red Light Recordings, and that was in Crestwood, which is where I grew up, and he had just cut something there, and he was buddies with all those guys that were running Red Light. So that's the fucking name that I've known for a minute.
Yeah,
that's wild.
And that's what he was talking about. That like,
he was saying some things, you know, especially in front of the hometown crowd. He's like, "You guys act like I'm not from here." He's like, "I grew, you know, I grew up there. I worked, you know, worked in this music shop, whatever." I don't know, he was like, and named, you know, addresses and stuff.
Is he like a big deal now? Is he like a?
I mean, he tours all over playing music and stuff. I mean, he's doing
Yeah.
it. So yeah,
Yeah, that's great. Good for
I
him.
mean, the record. I mean, you know, I don't know how much. What do you consider a big deal? But he's got Richard
That's a
Fortus.
good point. I have no clue what is a big deal anymore.
right.
I talk to people that I think are a big deal here, and they're like,
Sure.
I just had Ricky from Foxing on. He's like, I'm fucking broke. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, man, if you're not making it, there's no hope for any of us, you know?
Right.
Anyway.
he had
sorry.
Richard Fortus from Guns N' Roses on the record. Eric Gales, Walter Trout, and I don't know. The list goes on. I mean, just like
Wow.
so many great like a lot of more blues
that
and rock
was
and roll
his
guitar.
thing, right?
But anyway, star-studded record, and also features Charlie Berry III on there.
Wow.
Chuck's grandson. So I thought that was really cool that he got the opportunity to play on the record too. And so
Very
anyway,
cool.
so I was at that show, and I was just thinking about, like, you know, just like I grew up sharing a property line with Chuck Berry. We lived back door to Berry Acres there and stuff. So I was
Really?
just like thinking about like how much, like, I don't know, just was pretty weighing on me pretty heavy, like how much like he was a part of St. Louis and a part of Wentzville and stuff, and then like how some of the parties I heard about like back in the day, like and it could be all bullshit. I don't know. I wasn't there, but like one of my coworkers was telling me stories about like they used to go party at Chuck's and when they were in school and like saw like Keith Richards passed out in the yard or something. I was like,
Sounds about right.
I was like, you know, like that could be made up, but also could be very real. I'm like,
Yeah.
but anyway, it's just like I was thinking about how like, you know, I think St. Louis is really great now, but like I was imagining like some of those times, like it could have been some pretty wild moments thinking about some of the rock and roll going on in St.
Sure.
Louis then too. So
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't know what to think about music now because I just think there's nothing going on in St. Louis, but then I just really realized that I'm just not in the scene. You know, there's a ton going on. I'm just kind of disconnected. I don't know. I think that kind of happens to people when they get in their 30s or maybe late 20s. Like it starts to be harder to find new stuff. But
well, there's a guy that does a show called Rock Paper Podcast.
well, I was gonna say
if you wanna-
there's a lot of fun. I look at your lineup of shit, and I'm like, 800 episodes. God damn, I didn't know there was 800 people that know how to play instruments in St. Louis. You know,
There's a lot of things happening, man. And that's what you know, I'm in my mid 30s, but that's like, so I'm right there with you. But like, I've been like deep diving, looking for it, and also they're looking for me, I guess too. Like a lot of people hit me up, like, hey, we want to do the show, and I'm like, which is like crazy. Like that really like feels good that people like this has started as a goofy thing. And now it's a thing that people want to be a part of. So like that really feels good.
Yeah, I mean, I think all good things that start kind of pure of intent have a better shot of making it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, longevity, like we were talking about, is a big thing. But also, like, if you're not doing it to get rich and you're just doing it because you enjoy doing it, that shows through. You know, people get into it.
So you started playing music pretty young, or did you?
Yeah, I mean, funny story. My dad played guitar, but he only knows like how to play Beatles songs. But like, and I think he only knows the Beatles. Like, he didn't know any music. I'd be like, Dad, what about Metallica? He's like, that shit's lame. I'm like, what about Rolling Stones? They're pretty cool, right? He's like, nah, they're like Beatles light. Like, he just only liked the Beatles. So there's like videos of me playing guitar when I'm like 2 years old, like with my dad and, stuff like that. But my neighbor, his dad was, shout out to Mark Moynihan, is the singer in this band Racket Box.
Yeah.
And so I was talking.
Mark's a buddy of mine.
Yeah, I know. So his son, my friend, my childhood friend, I was at a baby shower for him, and he was like, hey Jordan, what's going on, man? He's like, hey, so you're gonna be on the Rock Paper Podcast? He's like, yeah, Shane guy's a good band. He gets a lot of cool guys, and I'm just laughing, like, it's just funny how the shit is cyclical or circular rather.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I was actually driving here thinking about that because I wanted to tell you that story about running to Mark. But I got to say, I got to give my dad credit. Like, the dude bought me my first guitar, like, all that shit. But just that weird thing where you kind of have weird beef with your parents. Like, it was like my neighbor's dad that really, like, kind of got me. we'd go over to his house and, he's like in a band and just knows bands and, got me into like Creedence and, some of that shit. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that was a weird tangent, but yeah. I was in like really shitty bands. I was in this awful band called Under Advisement when I was in 7th grade, and I just talked about this on the last episode of my podcast because I had the old bass player from that. I peaked in 7th grade. Like some people peak in high school, some people are like my best time in my life was 7th grade, or maybe it was 8th grade, but regardless, we played like we pressed our own little CDs, we recorded at Red Light and got these, the worst music you've ever heard. I don't even know if you could call it music, but we sold the fuck out of them. And then we played our 8th grade recognition and played. I played some big shows, like I opened Point Fest, where there's like 5,000 or 6,000 people there, but they're all kind of not engaged. They're on their phones, like. That's one thing you realize is you're never happy. Like whatever milestone you hit, you're just like, all right, on to the next thing. But playing in front of like your graduating class in 7th grade and everybody's like engaged and knows the words to the song and is singing and you're not on a stage, you're just on the fucking floor and like it's the small gym. That was genuinely the best show I've ever played, And then you have these. It's wild to think about it. Like then I was like in a band in high school and like all you want to do is play Creepy Crawl, and you do that and you're like, fuck the Creepy Crawl, I gotta play Mississippi Nights. Then you play Mississippi Nights and you're like, this is all right, but I'm looking for that pageant show. You play the pageant, sell that out, who gives a shit? I need to play an amphitheater. Not that I ever played a sold out amphitheater, but like, it's kind of like an asterisk to it, but playing Point Fest, having all those people there, you're still like, if I'm not headlining this bitch, I'm not doing my work. And that's a really like not good way to live your life, and I feel like people do that across a lot of disciplines, and so like I'm just trying to be present and thankful for the shit that I'm doing,
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of with you on that. Like not necessarily peaking, but like in 7th grade, but being the other side of that, being watching that. Yeah. Like I wasn't 7th, but I think it was like 8th or 9th grade maybe. But I still remember my buddies. Played like I don't know even what it was, like it was a talent show or whatever it was, but I remember a couple of my buddies got together and they had a band and I don't know, I think the Fault Line or something I think they called themselves, and
cool generic name.
Yeah, like and they covered Mud Shovel from Stained, and so like that sticks with me, like like that was whatever 20 years ago, and I still think still can. As you said, that the memories come back. So
that time in people's lives, I don't think anybody will dispute this, but whatever you listen to, that's the shit that's going to be with you forever. Those like early adolescent years is like the music could honestly be terrible, and it's special to you, and that's kind of that weird thing about music, right? Like I think why it's harder for me to find stuff now is like my life isn't like defined by that anymore. So the stuff. When you're a kid, you're going through all those weird changes and shit, like whatever somebody's saying on the other side of those headphones, is like profoundly connects with you because you're just a stupid kid, so right. But anyway.
Well, it's nice to when you hear those and they're like that you realize somebody else has gone through that same shit, It's like, so that's where it starts, man. Start connecting those lyrics and you're like, this guy's telling my story and stuff,
yeah.
So
yeah, that's the thing about, people shit on like having negative music or whatever. Obviously, if you listen to negative shit all the time, you might be a more negative person, but like it's good to be able to explore those feelings. And like, I grew up in like the emo kind of like world of, just people talking about dark shit.
Yeah.
Probably often without a lot of substance behind it, but you need that, and when you're a kid, you're like, oh, this dude in this like famous band is like, he hates his life too, or he can't get the girl that he wants,
I just recently went I guess a year ago or so now. But Good Charlotte came to the pageant,
Oh wow.
and I went because I got some free tickets over there.
Humble brag. Go ahead.
Well, I do.
Connected,
I work for
yeah.
the street team. That's what I do. So I work for them.
For the Good Charlotte Street Team?
No, I work for the pageant street team.
Okay.
So
I'm like, damn, Good Charlotte is
Yeah.
getting granular. They're like, we got street teams all
Yeah.
across the. That's funny.
But so anyway, like I hadn't listened to Good Charlotte since middle school. You know,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
kind of thing. I was like, and but I went back and listened to it before the show just because I was like, this would be fun. Just give me something to do at work. And I started listening to some, and I was like, damn man, like these songs are fucked up. Like there's a lot of really dark stuff in these
Yeah.
songs, but they're like
Happy,
super
yeah.
catchy.
Right,
And it's
right.
like, but you start listening to the lyrics now as an adult, and you're like, man, this is messed up. Like.
Yeah, that's so that you're 100% right, and that's kind of what I liked about it. One of my favorite bands was Saves the Day, because he just wrote lyrics about really fucked up shit, but it sounded very like catchy and fun and like
Right.
happy, and I always like that juxtaposition, of like dark material and happy sounding stuff, or dark sounding music and like happy stuff,
Yeah. I always go back to one of my favorite quotes from Robin Hood Men in Tights when he's like, "Could you just tell me the bad news in a good way?" You know, like
Yeah, that's a poignant thought.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's weird how like framing stuff is really important. You know what I mean? Like, and like this like hippie shit about like energy. That's like real. You know what I mean? Like, you get the right energy behind like a thing that you're doing or whatever. It can really make something work. And the bad juju, the bad energy, can like frame something in a weird way. You know? So I don't know.
yeah.
That was an extrapolation, but
There you go. What were some of those other bands you were part of? Was it Last Night's Vice? Was the Point Fest one, right?
yeah, that was the I was in a band called Blame Gary that was interesting. I mean, it's part of my life, it's part of my story,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, Last Night's Vice was like the band that I like hang my head on. Like, not that in the grand scheme of things we never really went anywhere, but like locally we like played a lot of shows, took it seriously, did some, we had some label showcases, and just the typical kind of like get to the precipice and never really get past it. But
Well, it probably also like laid a lot of the groundwork for what you're doing today, though, too. All the friendships that you start making and the people you meet and
Yeah.
everything else. Like, even though it's been, that band didn't necessarily do, but it's still opened doors that you're still opening today.
yeah, before we started recording, I was telling you because we kind of realized that we had that in common, like the band, and like, but I did a music video for the band that was the first music video that I ever really. I mean, I've been fucking around with cameras since like high school or earlier, but like that was the first, quote unquote, like proper music video that I had made. And looking back on it now, it's really terrible. I mean, it looks like something that a high school kid or a middle school kid would make. But like for me, I was so proud of it, and I thought it was such a clever idea. It was like we used to like. I prided myself on like our kind of like guerrilla, I mean, like one of my favorite bands ever was this band called Glassjaw, this like New York hardcore band and post-hardcore band, and they would like mail out like stencils all across, like to their like fans across the U.S. And people would like spray paint this GJ Glassjaw, and like I just thought that was like, I mean, I was just getting introduced to the idea of like this punk rock like DIY. DIY now is, I don't know, it's been bastardized or I don't know, cheapened. I feel like that term, but like that idea for me was very novel and exciting, and so we like made these stencils that we like power washed. Like instead of graffitiing, we were like cleaning out, dirty cement, and just shit like that. Like we bought this like bus or like this like little we were just trying to do big stuff, and so like this video just like highlighted that, and I thought it was so clever and proud, and now I look back, I'm like, what a dog shit thing. But like to your point, like
Well, it all starts somewhere, though.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was the impetus for like what I'm doing now. I mean,
Right.
like I've honestly, again, like the theme of once you do something and then you're like, all right, what's next? I mean, like I did a shot a music video for Story of the Year last year. Story of the Year was my favorite band growing up.
Yeah, man.
And like all those dudes are like friends now. And they have a weird history with them, but like it's just weird. It's weird. I remind myself to think about the 17-year-old me.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, dummy, like, be excited and proud that you're friends with those dudes because you looked up to them as a kid. Be excited and proud that you made a music video for them when you didn't. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, the only way to really be stoked is like to think about your younger self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, at least for me, if I look at what I'm doing now, any of the stuff I'm doing now, it's. I can't even brag on it because I don't even give a shit about it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm getting paid. I'm paying for I'm excited about like providing for my family, but I'm not excited about like the accolades or whatever. But like the only way I can get in that mindset is like 17-year-old, you would think that's pretty fucking cool, you know? So
I'm right. Man, I do that all the time. I just recently I had a beer with Dan and from Story and like, I'm like, this is pretty wild. Like, you know, he's just a dude, you know, but like, that's the thing. That's what you got to remind yourselves. Like they're, you know, they're rock stars to us and and everything else, but he's just a guy. Like he's just hangs out just like the rest of us. And like, so, but it was just really neat to sit and have, hanging out with him for a minute and have a beer. And then like, I'm just like, man, if I could like tell, young Shane that he's getting to hang out with these guys,
right.
Like, it's just like that's a really cool moment to think about. Like, this is how did I get myself in this situation where I'm getting to like hang with these guys that I, idolize.
Well, it's because you started a shitty podcast at episode 1 and you turned it into a cool podcast. Yeah. I don't know at what episode it started being cool, but
right.
we all dude, my
Number
first
2.
episode of I'm on like episode 20, so I'm a little baby, but if you listen to episode 1, it is markedly worse than where I'm at now. But like, you gotta, before you can get to episode 50, you gotta start at episode 1, and
for me, like, I mean, I don't know whenever I'm still working, trying to figure it out, but we ended up getting like number 5. I think we had Steve Ewing on, and that was like, for me, that was
episode 5.
Yeah, that was
Nice.
that was one of those cool moments where it's just like, this is pretty wild that I'm getting to, like. Steve is already a buddy before all this. That's how I got him,
Sure.
obviously in number 5. But it was just like a wild thing to think about that I'm like, the guy I used to watch here with the Urge and everything is now we're sitting in his hot dog shop and talking music and stuff. And
rest in peace, man.
Yeah.
The fucking Steve's hot dogs.
Yeah, it's a bummer, man.
But I mean, I don't know. That dude's not meant to be slinging hot dogs his whole life. You know what I mean? Like,
well, but he wasn't just doing that. He was, still playing gigs all the time.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, I'm very much like, no, you shouldn't. Sure. Nobody should do the same shit their whole life, like,
and find time to hit the gym. Guy is super shredded.
Oh yeah, I've creeped on his. Have you seen his like competition photos?
Yeah,
yeah, dude. The Urge was the very first concert I ever went to.
Oh, nice.
At the Pageant, which had just opened. And it was their very last show. Well, I mean, obviously they played 1,000 shows since then, but it was their very last show, like their going away thing. And they had like two nights sold out, and then they added a Sunday, and that Sunday was the last show. And I remember seeing Jerry. That's another thing. Like Jerry Jost is a buddy of mine now.
Yeah.
I remember I got to slap myself and think about 7th grade Jordan is looking up there, seeing this dude. To me, you have to stare at a guitar and like you're very concentrated on every shitty little note you're playing. And I go to the show and I see Jerry Jost, who's like squinting and smoking a cigarette, and he's got a beer in his hand and he's just shredding. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to if you're a good guitar player. It's just if you're a shitty guitar player, you got to focus. And just seeing them do their like, their bunny hops and just that high energy, that was really like, I'm digging like Creedence Clearwater. I mean, no,
Sure.
But it's like a different thing to get into that like rock and to see it local. And like, I think, Story of the Year, I think was very much influenced by the Urge and like that like idea of like super high energy live show. You know?
Right. Yeah, they there's definitely. I mean, the sounds are quite a bit different, but the stage presence, the jumps and everything. Like they, I've seen.
It's not enough to just play your instrument.
Right.
It's like you got to like, how are you going to play and be in the fucking air doing backflips and stuff?
Right.
Which I know a lot of like old hats probably like think that's just ridiculous, but like that's progress. Is like shit just getting more and more wild, and like I can't go to a show anymore now unless it's got an insane light show behind it, because like guys, I can listen to your fucking album at my house.
Yeah.
Like I need to be stimulated,
Sure.
Like mentally and visually. And I don't know, maybe that's shitty, but that's just like, that's where I'm at in my life, at least. I'm sure that'll change as I get older, but I hope
Yeah.
it does.
I wanted to go back a little bit. You were talking about Glassjaw and the DIY and the stuff like that. Some of that ideas, and I think obviously that was a lot of what helped Last Night's Vice gain success. Obviously some of those marketing ideas like that, and just and I think a lot of I'm fast forwarding to today. A lot of it's gone away. People just rely on social media to do it for them. Their Facebook and Instagrams or whatever. And then it's like, but you look at a group like locally, great friends of mine, but like Discrepancies, like
Sure.
those guys were hitting their ground. They had backpacks full of CDs, demos, giving out CD. Like they did a lot of those things that like people used to do, and and gain success that way. Like it made a whole big fan base, and they're on the road doing it now, and it's like all kinds of stuff. But
Well, listen up, kids and grandfathers and everybody in between. This is the secret to fucking promoting. This is tested. I'll die by this. Whatever everybody else is doing, do the fucking opposite.
Right.
Because shit is circular, and right now it's novel to go hand out CDs. Okay, CDs might be a hard sell because nobody has, but it's sorry, dude, I'm getting sick in my throat. It's novel to like go out and put out posters, because everybody's like on that Instagram game or like doing the Facebook shit. Instagram was insane 5 years ago, but now it's like it's just what everybody does. Not that you shouldn't do anything on Instagram, but like if you just put all your eggs in that Instagram basket, like that's just one tool. You got to think of that weird stuff, you know, like the Boys and Discrepancies. I mean, every time I see somebody do something out of left field, I'm like, A, I'm upset I didn't think about it, and B, I'm like, good for them.
yeah,
And it's like, you also realize you have to be humble and know you didn't think of anything new. You just like stumbled upon some shit that they were doing 30 years ago,
Yeah.
but nobody else is doing it. So that's what makes it special. And, so do new shit. Whatever everybody else is doing, stop doing it and do something else,
Right. Yeah, man.
Podcasts will be that way. Right now, we're fucking onto something with this podcast shit. But in 5 years, it's going to be an app on everybody's phone, and there'll be fucking 12-year-old girls that'll have the Kimmy whoever show, and you know what I mean? Like, and then this won't be it. But right now, it's it. Podcasts are where it's at for
Yeah,
sure.
man. I'm having a ton of fun doing my show, and but you so we'll get into that a little bit. So you just recently you said you're up to like 20 something.
Very proud.
Yeah, but this where do you get into podcasting at? Like you just you listen to a lot of the big ones and just feel like I want to do that, or
Yeah, it's twofold. One, I was doing a lot of work with like Greek Fire and Moon in that band. He was like, man, when I search your name, like nothing comes up on Google. And I was like, oh yeah, I have like this. I told him my company name, He's like, I mean, that's cool, but like if you're a director, I need to be able to Google your name. And I was like, damn, that's a good point, And so I stumbled upon this whole idea of like your, I'm not going to remember the term for it, but it's apparently a well thought of your personal brand,
okay,
It's just like a lame ass thing that everybody's doing now. But like for me being a music video director, like I need to build that name up. And I think that's just done through doing shit, making content. And so like that was in my head, and then it was a confluence of things. But yeah, I definitely like big fan of like the Joe Rogan show, The very first podcast I got into was Your Mom's House, but I'm into like comedian podcasts.
That's where I was. I started with. Well, I used to hang at Funny Bone a lot.
Okay.
And I met Jay Larson down there one night, and he's like, "Hey, check out my podcast." And like, so I started listening to the Crab Feast with Jay
Sickler.
Yeah, Sickler, and so I was like hooked on that every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. Yeah.
And
Fucking love that dude.
yeah, he's one of the best, and of course now he's got the Honeydew. So check that out if you don't know. And so I'm listening, and of course then that introduces me to some others, and like I started listening to About Last Night with Adam Ray and Brad Williams.
Yep.
And I got hooked on that. And so I'm just like listening to these shows, and I'm like, man, these guys just sound like they're having the best time. Like, and hanging out with their buddies. And I'm like, I want to do that. And anyway, one day my buddy Chris was like, hey, anybody want to do a pod? I'm like, let's do it. And then but it was come full circle. I got to meet Jay and Ryan came to the Blueberry Hill Duck Room.
Oh, cool.
And did a show down there. And I heard you talking about him too, but Tim Convey was a part of that. And, and he, so anyway, I got to sit there and talk to those guys for a minute, and I got to tell them, like, at the point I was like at 500 shows or whatever it was. And I'm like, you guys inspired me to do this, and I'm 500 episodes in now and stuff.
That's
and
beautiful.
So it was really, really cool to get to have that moment where, with some of these guys that kind of helped kickstart the idea and stuff. So
yeah, that's the thing that I started it with impure motives. I really just did it because I wanted to, boost my my fucking profile. But I quickly would have stopped doing it if it wasn't fun,
Sure.
And a thing that I stumbled upon very quickly was that I'm 33, I got 2 kids, and I'm married, and I have a fucking mortgage, and it's impossible to hang out with my best friends.
Right.
It's absolutely 100% impossible to hang out with fucking acquaintances, and not even in this realm of meeting new people, So like we were talking about, it's like we had like a whole fucking podcast before we started recording. It forces you to like meet new people. I mean, I'm talking to you. I would have never. I don't know. Maybe we would have talked to each other like a Hardee's or something on accident. But you know what I mean? Like, but like it creates this, and this is fun. I mean, I would be sleeping right now if we weren't doing this. And like, but it's good. It's like, I love my parents, but like, I think their generation of, I don't know, maybe it's they just like don't have any friends anymore. Because it's not because they didn't do anything wrong. It's just the natural order seems to be like your friends just keep falling off, and so hopefully this podcast hopefully I'll have friends when I'm older.
All right.
If nothing else, that's what this podcast is gonna, podcasting thing is gonna do for me.
There it is. That's the next title. Jordan needs friends.
Jordan needs will be my friend. That's actually how when I go for guests, that's the subject line in my emails is "Will you be my friend?"
Right.
Works.
Yeah, man. That's what I think. It's definitely working. You got you've been breaking out some heavy hitters for sure already in the show, man. Like getting to.
I'm drying up, man. If you gotta introduce me to some people. I'm having also. It's hard as a man to get ladies, just because my social circle is like mostly dudes, you know. And also, to be honest, like St. Louis is pretty white and segregated, so like black guys, anybody besides white men really is not hard for me to get on, but is like takes a little extra effort,
Yeah.
And it's I make the effort,
sure,
but it's just like a lot of people fucking fall in my lap of like another white dude, and like fuck.
I try to be aware of that for sure. Like I don't necessarily but like when I do these like monthly thing, like some guests that are scheduled for the month,
right?
And I'll look at them like there's literally all white dudes. Like I gotta like do something, like
yeah, and it's kind of shitty that you have to like change your lineup or whatever to like have that like equal opportunity kind of like thing,
right?
But it's also shitty to not do that.
Yeah.
So it's just and just unfortunately like where we live, we're not in Atlanta, we're not in New York, So it's just like a bunch of fucking white people around, you know, and like I don't know, that ends up being, and then you know, the guy girl thing is just an interesting thing because you know I was did a podcast with Lux the other day, and like Lux is a very pretty lady, and like you know I don't know if my wife was like, hey, kids are asleep, I'm going out to hang out with some hot dude in a thing. I mean, I trust her with all my heart, but I mean, I can, you know what I mean? Like it's just a little bit weird.
Sure.
So anyway, it's not an excuse, but
Yeah, I feel like that sometimes. Like I've had like Learn on the show and stuff. Like I get my picture taken with a lot of these different
Yeah.
females and
beautiful women.
Yep.
Yeah.
and then people will be like make comments, and I'm like but me and my wife are also very open to it, like not open, but I mean
You're in an open. You're swingers. I get it.
right,
Yeah.
That's-
Polyamory. Sure.
well, we're just
That's why you started the podcast
Yeah,
was to
man.
swing.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
There it is.
You just need a pineapple on your a pineapple under the arch.
yeah.
The Rock Paper Pineapple Podcast.
There it is, man. I meant just not jealous of it all or anything. We don't get insecure about it. But it's just like, it's funny though, like to see like all these pictures like that pop up and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's one of the perks of the job though.
Right. Yeah, it's weird too because it's kind of intimate, like having these long form conversations. Like I don't know. Our friend, we have this dude Matt Amelung in common. Rest in peace. And when I have these almost every fucking podcast, I feel like I bring his name up, just because like you're trying to search for like kind of deep things to talk about, and like that dude just had such an impact in St. Louis music that anytime I have any musician on, if they're a St. Louis musician, which most of my people on my show are, they probably we have him in common.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
anyway, it's just weird. You get to talk about deep shit.
Yeah. So I saw Kevin Smith at the pageant, did a Q&A type of show over there.
Yeah.
And he got into talking about his podcast. There was a lot of questions about that, even though like he's such a brilliant filmmaker also, but people
Silent motherfucking Bob.
yeah, everybody wanted to talk about the podcast. So
Yeah.
he talked about it a lot, and like it was cool to hear him talk about it, because he was like saying, like, and it really helped me like put in perspective what I was doing, and it kind of changed the way I was doing things, because he was talking. He said like one of the biggest things is the sound of somebody's voice, like the memory of sound, what somebody's voice sounds like is always like the first thing to go. And when the mind starts to slip and stuff, like people start losing that. And like, so now he's like preserved all this audio of like his voice. He likes to record a lot with his mother and friends and stuff. So he has all these conversations with them and stuff. So say anything was happened to him or his mother or whatever, he has all this documented of like these conversations and stuff. And like, so like, I was like, man, that's really heavy to think about, but like, it was really, really cool. It made me realize like, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun talking to rock stars and different things, but I was like, I want to talk more to just my friends. It's like hang out and have fun and get to, these people become my friends, but it's like also I want to just like have my high school buddies and reminisce about stuff and like whatever it is, it's like just, bullshit and have a good time. And like, and Matt was one of those guys, like we become buddies, but it's like I told you off mic that we, I reshared the episode he was on because I had this audio of me and him talking for an hour and a half about music, and it was awesome. And it was just like really cool to hear him, being so passionate about his music and the stuff he's a part of. And, so it was like, I'm really grateful that I have that moment and have this documented and stuff, and we can live on forever.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
I have this weird thing where I did this like little music project with him, and I haven't really like shared it. It was a very like secretive. We had big plans, but also not. And I want to release this stuff, but I want to release it like, hey, this is stuff that me and Matt worked on together, and it was very like we like co-wrote a bunch of the stuff, and like, but something about that feels like wrong to me. Like I don't want to try to like get extra views or whatever on it, but like I'm ultimately going to do that because like I want people to like enjoy more of the shit that dude made. You know, I mean, he was one of the best producers in St. Louis, at least for like rock and you know whatever the crossover pop stuff like metal. And I don't know. You know, it's
I get I was kind of conflicted myself. You know, it's like I don't want it to seem like I'm
opportunistic. But
trying to cash in on everybody's emotions. But this is a happier time with him. You know, it's
For
like
sure.
so it's like think about this is what I think he'd rather you remember this stuff than the when he was sick and stuff. So it's like, you know, so
we did for his benefit show, or like to benefit like his wife that got left with a bunch of bills and shit. Me and some of my buddy Joey and Goldsmith and Ben Vogel sang some video collaborators and a handful of other people. We did this really cool video project where we interviewed all the bands. It was like Story of the Year, Greek Fire, Discrepancies, all these bands that played this incredible benefit show. We made these like little video clips, you know, that were cool that played there. But anyway, so I've got those sitting on like a YouTube account, and like I always think about it. I'm like, I need to like post this shit. I need to like promote the post, like sponsor at it, and like get it seen, just because it's like it's cool, you know. And like I want to keep that fucking guy's memory alive. That's why I keep talking on these goddamn podcasts.
Right.
But it also feels kind of gross, and you know, and I'm lazy, so those things like keep me from doing it. But anyway.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, nice, man. Well, let's get into a little bit more of the film work stuff that
Sure.
you said.
I'm gonna get a beer. You want a beer?
Let's
or
do
water?
it, man.
All right, let's beer. Brought to you by Stag.
Yeah, proud sponsor.
That's right.
I joke about it a lot, like sauce on the side. I will, you know, and I'd like to mention a lot of our wonderful products from our fine city, and hopefully that they'll be like throw me a couple free calzones or whatever it might be. So, but I'll gladly endorse Stag.
An ice cold Stag beer, proud sponsor of this.
Oh yeah, that's fresh.
It is good, and let's be honest, it's not a life-changing beer. It's like in that low.
Hey, speak for yourself. It's my sponsor you're talking about.
It's my fucking sponsor. I know, but I'm saying it's like of all the like Bud Lights, it tastes like Bud Light to me. Like this and Busch and all this shit just tastes like Bud Light. But it's like, dude, this company is the only. I mean, they're the only beer brand that's actually doing anything in St. Louis, like putting money into shit, like sponsoring stuff.
They sponsor a lot of shows around town.
And that's why they're crushing it now. That's why I love working with them, is because they're the only. Everybody's like, I only drink Busch. It's like, dude, what's the last thing that Busch has done in St. Busch doesn't do shit for St. Louis. Bud Light doesn't do shit for St. Louis. They don't. I mean, they'll like, we're taking over the 360 rooftop bar or whatever. Like, I'm off that tip. Like, Stag, you know, may not be your favorite flavor, but it all tastes like watery beer, and you know what I mean, like, and it's delicious. It's a beer you can drink all day, you know. So that's real talk.
It's breakfast beer.
That's breakfast beer. That's right. I love all the like. I love Four Hands, and I love all those beers. But like, dude, I can have like 2 of those, and then I'm like, I need to get an Uber home. You know what I mean? Like, you can drink some Stag for a while, you know.
Right.
And that's like a weird overcorrection that we had. You know, is like, in the pursuit of like these quote unquote better beers, like we made them too good, you know. You're like, no, what's the fun in drinking 2 beers, you know? Like, you want to like hang out and have beers with your friends, you know.
Right.
Anyway,
so you mentioned earlier though that you said that, you know, this kind of the camera, you've had the cameras around a lot as you know, you're working, trying to become. You were working towards this, even though maybe you didn't even really realize what you were doing at the time. But so when did you decide that this is really what you wanted to pursue, though?
I mean, basically, like, my story is this. I was in this band, Last Night's Vice, and we were like kind of touring, like kind of Weekend Warriors shit. I mean, looking back on it, we weren't really doing anything, but we felt like we were working really hard. We were having band practice like 6 days a week, and so while we were doing that and like had some, you know, small little legs of touring and stuff, I just I couldn't get a job. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get a job and like be busting your ass like I am and like going out of town and shit. So I just like was making posters and stuff for my band. So I kind of like got into the graphic design thing and like had like my friend's mom like hooked me up with like her direct mail business and like would help me like, you know, like just little dumb stuff that you look back and it's like the worst thing ever. But really I just was doing that just to make, you know, pay my rent and, you know, looking back, it's like there's such a small amount of money that it took to sustain your lifestyle, you know. I was like still on my parents' insurance and driving a piece of shit car and just like, you know, just doing that, like just following your heart, you know, and like your kind of skills are just building and building and building without you even knowing it, you know. And like eventually, like the band thing for me, I mean, I quit. They did like a whole other album after I quit, but like we all kind of, like the band was over. Like when I left, like we'd already lost another guitarist. After I left, the bass player left like a week later. Like the band was basically over, and then I was like, shit, I got to get a job now. Like I don't have this excuse to not have a job. But I realized like, oh, I already have this like job, you know. So if I just like instead of spending 2 days a week doing the work, if I like spend 6 days a week, you know. So anyway, I got into design and then fucked around with that, and website stuff. I still like doing websites, but anyway, DSLRs were like the game changer. I always loved video, but it always was this unattainable thing for me because they were so expensive. Like
Right.
if you're shooting on film, you're buying film you're renting a camera. We're not in LA, so there's like, I mean, I didn't even know there were any rental houses, but even now knowing that, I mean, there's, you know, DSLRs just open it up. It's like, you remember like before DSLRs, like those big ass expensive cameras that looked like flat, shitty. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it didn't look like the movies, you know?
Right.
And that, like they could be like, this one's 3 CCD or like all this shit, and you're like, it doesn't look like a movie thing. They're like, well, it's not film. And anyway, DSLRs like changed all that. And you're like, for $1,000, you could get something that like, I mean, it doesn't look like, you know. Anyway. So that was kind of the gateway drug for me. Was I bought a DSLR to shoot photos for the design stuff, and the rest is kind of history. But yeah, I'm always weirded out when people like went to school for like, you know, film and shit. I'm like, how did you know when you were 18 that you wanted to be a director or whatever? But I guess they just knew, and I thought I wanted to be in a band, you know. So I don't know.
Yeah. I still don't know what I want to be when I grew up.
I mean, I know that's like such a thing, but that's for real, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm always weary of people that knew what they... Dude, my wife, since she was like 4 years old, knew she wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And then she was a teacher, and I'm like freaked out by that, you know? She's a counselor now, so she's growing, but... Yeah, I don't think people set their sights high enough when they set out to do something that they actually achieve.
Right.
You know, you got to make your goals some dumb shit you're never going to be able to do.
That is kind of the crazy thing to think about. Like, you know, just the fact you're, you know, 16, 17, 18, whatever, and you got to start thinking about your life, your career, and you're like, I don't even know what I'm going to do this weekend, you know, or whatever. It's like, it's just like, you know, now you have to make that, kind of stick to that. I mean, obviously you can change it, but it's like, that's the whole point of what they're trying to get you to go think about your career path and go into college and do that. And it's like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what you know.
Yeah. And you just started drinking alcohol. You just started fucking, maybe, hopefully. Like, you need a couple years to let that breathe. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be worried about school.
Right.
You got to, like, get a little job, a little side job, just to, you know, feed your curiosities. My wife hates me saying this, but I don't know. My kids, they'll do whatever they're going to do. But I'm like, I don't want them to just, like, go. I don't want the debt. I don't want to pay for their debt. I escaped debt, and then I got married, and then incurred all my wife's debt. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not raising kids, I think, that are going to know what they want to do at 18. So I certainly don't want them to go to like a 4-year college right out of high school. And I guess the other thing is then they get some shitty job and they're making good money when all their friends aren't. And then I don't know. Maybe there is no right answer, but
Yeah. I don't know, man. But you So the film starts working for you, though. You've been busy of late, for sure. Keeping, like you said, Story of the Year, Greek Fire. You got to work with some of those guys, creating some really nice videos and things like. Is that you want to do a lot more of that? I'm assuming. And
yeah, I don't know. You know, who knows? The music video shit is great, but it's a like a passion thing, you know. It doesn't pay very well. People just don't. I mean, at least the bands I work with, like, just they don't have the budgets that it takes to, like, I don't know. I'm about ready to work on this cool, like, metal thing, and, like, I don't know. Hopefully I make some money doing it, but, like, really the thing for me is just doing different shit.
Sure.
So, like, while I would love to keep doing music videos and hopefully still do, it doesn't feel like a challenge, you know? I don't know. See, this is what I was talking about. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Because, like, dude, when Story of the Year is putting out a new record,
Right.
and when they put that new record out, I'm doing all the video stuff. Like, I'm so excited for that. If fucking Phil and Greek Fire would do more stuff, like, I love working with him. You know, I don't know.
yeah,
We'll see.
What about like feature film work? Do you want to do any of that?
Nah, I don't know. Absolutely not, except that I just talked to somebody the other day and we decided we were going to do like a short, like a movie. So
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, but it's like the right thing. You know what I mean? Like the right opportunity comes. I'm enjoying, I've become really close with this dude, Corey Smale, who's the brand manager for Stag. And he like started Strange Donuts before that. And then he had this Good Fortune, like Chinese food place for a year.
Corey did the show.
Did
once.
he?
Yeah.
Dude, that guy. Okay, let me take it back a step. Let me tell you this. This is my opinion. If you meet somebody that you instantly get along with, I don't think you're going to like that person for a long time. Maybe you will. But my point is, if you meet somebody where like you kind of, it takes a little bit longer to get into what they are, I think those are the people that that I'm interested in being friends with long term, because I think people that are eager to like be your best friend right out of the gate, like those are shallow people that have built that thing up to like, I don't know, because they're like kind of shitty inside. Now, also, I'm super negative and have a fucked up view of the world, so maybe that's not true. But the point is, like, every day that I spend with Corey, I realize more and more I'm like, I could learn a lot from this dude. Like, we're very kindred spirits. So I see Corey and I doing a lot of stuff. I mean, honestly, that's why I love doing the Stag stuff, is like, even just like silly little event videos. Like, the dude's just like turning me on to just like, dude, I never thought I'd be excited to go watch a bluegrass band play, but he turned me on to Old Salt Union, which
Yeah.
if you haven't, have those guys been on?
Yeah, man.
Fuck. Why am I even acting like... Let's play a game. It's called Let Me Name a Fucking Band That Hasn't Been on the Podcast.
Well, you can start with your own show, because there's a couple on there that haven't been on mine, and I've been working for a long time to make that happen.
Oh, shit. All right.
So,
let's trade some people. We got some trading
all right,
cards.
yeah.
Play a little Magic the Gathering.
But, maybe. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I've been like, I remember, we've been trying to get Story on since the beginning, and
Yeah.
hasn't happened and stuff. So,
Well, you know who you can get, who I'll get for you. He's the least important member of the band, but Adam Russell,
Yeah.
bass player, such a homie, and he's got a great new podcast, Thank the Maker.
Right on.
So, you know, even if he doesn't want to come on your show, he owes it to his listenership
Yeah.
to promote.
yeah.
But no, Adam is a great dude, and you get his ass
Yeah.
on. You know,
Yeah, man.
you work your way up from bass player. You know,
Right.
you get there.
Maybe we'll get a drummer next, or maybe Josh will do it. So we'll see.
Yeah. Josh is. Here's the thing about Josh, man. Like, what are you going to talk about? You know what I mean? Like, I thought about like we were talking about him doing my show, and I'm like, he's like such a sports guy.
Yeah, how many different jerseys he has? Maybe?
Yeah, right. I'm like, what are we going to talk about? We could just talk about our love for Chris D'Elia. You know what I mean? Like,
All right.
I don't know. At least Adam's into like. That's not true, because Josh is into Star Wars too, so I could riff with him on Star Wars. But that's it. Okay, You interview like random ass people like me that you've never met before, right?
Yeah.
Like that's your.
I've done these in like Denny's and Taco Bell's and interviewed like employees and stuff too and stuff like on the spot. So I've done a lot of weird things, random.
But like, here's the thing that I'm finding out is like, it's less about getting people of note. I mean, that's cool, right?
Sure.
But it's like if you get the wrong person, or like if you, there's like some people that you click with and like things are fun and like they go great, and then sometimes you have interviews or you're just talking to people that just, I don't know, it's like not it. You know, there's like something missing. I'm just talking out loud because I'm trying to figure this out for myself. It's like I want like a pre-podcast conversation with people that I don't know,
Right.
To just like be like, so I could pass on it if I'm like, nah, we just don't. We're too different, you know.
I mean, I've definitely had those too, where we sat down, we pressed record, and just couldn't get it to work, and we were like, "Hey, man, let's just scrap this thing." And like,
Really?
yeah,
Well, good for you for not
So-
making people fucking sit through it. 'Cause, yeah.
I'm like, but again, like, I'm not blaming them, and it was like maybe I was off that day, maybe they were off, but like whatever. It's just like it just didn't work, and we scrap it, and we just. I've gone back and revisited some of those that didn't work the first time, and then the second time worked better. But it's like,
Yeah.
just we all have off days. We all have, we in a funk that day for whatever reason, and
For sure.
so. But no, I mean that's a real thing, man. It's hard to always be on and be ready to roll, and
It's kind of like a tango too, like you kind of got to like know when to lead and when to be led. And
right.
I always like, sometimes I try to like crack these jokes and like, some people just like kind of fucking around with each other, and like some people just shut you down, and I'm like, ugh, I'm not excited to talk to you for the rest of this fucking interview, like. Because, like, at the end of the day, what are we doing here? Like, we're just having fun. It's just two people talking, having fun. Hopefully it gets a little silly and, like, people laugh in their car or whatever,
Yeah.
they're trying to pass their day with. I mean, because that's why I listen to podcasts. Like, I love when people talk about deep shit or profound stuff, but, like, I can't be all that. It's got to be silly and, like, somebody's got to fart in the mic every once in a while. And, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah. I like a little bit of everything. I don't know. Like, I've gotten into definitely some serious ones, gotten into a lot of silly ones, but I don't know. I kind of like just press and record and see what happens. That's my favorite thing. Like, and I kind of, you never know. I kind of let the guest usually guide the tone of it, see where they want to take it, and so not all. I mean, I don't expect. We're not comedians, so it's like, why are we gonna like try to do that? It's like, so.
Yeah.
That's
Well, comedians, like, they're not even really that funny on their podcasts. You know what I mean? Like, every once in a while they get little bits and riffs and stuff, but like,
I don't know. Tom Segura talking about shit in his pants and stuff, like, it always makes me laugh. Like when him and Sickler were talking together and stuff, and
yeah, but like even Tom, who's like my favorite fucking comedian, like, he's not really that funny. Like when he's not doing his stuff, he's
Right.
more like. I mean, he breaks into little bits here and there that are like my everything, like what I live for. But like, he's also like his buddy Bert Kreischer is way more like trying to be funny all the time. Tom's
Right.
more like sitting back and just like,
I got to meet Bert. At the last time he was at the pageant, and got to go backstage and get a picture with him and stuff, and
Oh, cool.
that's pretty neat.
Yeah, Bert. Yeah, that's. I'm just excited for those dudes. Like, their success in this whole thing.
You watch. I mean, besides the podcast, you watch a lot of the comedy and stuff. Like you
Oh,
mentioned-
yeah.
You mentioned Bert and Chris and all these different.
Yeah, I'm in. That's the thing, man. Like, once you get into one of them, you can kind of like you get into their network of people, which I hope is something that like St. Louis kind of creates, like with the podcast network or whatever. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a stretch, but yeah, I'm deep. I'm deep into all that shit, and I just love. I love where comedy's at now, where it's like not this like the alt comedy thing of. I don't know. I just like the dirty shit. I like to just people to be unapologetic. I went to like New York recently and saw like Andrew Schultz at the Comedy Cellar, and he said some of the most fucking awful things I've ever heard somebody say, and I just love it because it's like, if not here, where else? And like, you know, that dude's actually like a really good guy in his heart and his soul, and like this is what comedians are, and like it's just like listening to those fucked up lyrics from those wild bands. You know what I mean? Like it's not real, and I just get bummed out thinking about just our culture of, you know, I'm like a liberal dude, and like I feel like my people are just chill the fuck out, you know, like. Let things be funny. Like don't police people's words like their words are fucking, you know, tablets, like rock tablets. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like the commandments.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's the thing I think too. Like you got to know where they're coming from. If it's not coming from a place of hate, you know, so it's like it can still be funny because it's like, even though you're saying these certain words, but it's not coming from a place, like I said, like of anger and hate and things. It's just
like if we can't joke about like prejudices that we have, there's nothing to joke about. You know what I mean? Like I think like not racist, but like racial observations are hilarious about white people, about black people, about Asians. I mean, it's all like shit that people know about because there's like a grain of truth to it, and it's funny to just be ridiculous about it.
Right.
And it's, you know, it just feels unfortunate that I don't know, that people have to like, I don't know, maybe it is good. I don't know what I'm talking about, but at least for the pros, you know, I like to have them take the chances and say crazy shit. Cause you know, I mean, like at least the guys and gals that I watch are all like in their hearts, you know, they don't, there's no like, I don't know, there's a lot of love there. You know what I mean? Like Tom says wild shit.
Oh yeah.
But like, I mean, the dude is like loves hip hop and like, you know, like idolizes black culture and like, you know what I mean? So like when he says some crazy shit, you're like, I mean, you know, he's a good dude, you know? So anyway, I don't know.
Did you see him at the pageant or Stiefel?
I saw him at Stiefel, and I was the very front row, not the very first seat center aisle, but one back, because the very first seat at Stiefel is like you're looking at like shoes, you know?
Right.
And my wife will corroborate this. He stared at me the whole fucking time, which meant that I was very aroused, and my wife kept like being like, why is he looking at you? And I'm like, I don't actually think he can see me because like, you know, the lights are hitting him, but like it was a very intimate moment that we had, and the tickets were fucking expensive, and it was such a great experience for me that I'm like, I'm only gonna buy these tickets. And they were like, I don't know, $200 or $300 a piece. They're expensive. The Birdie Boy tour, same place. I went to go buy those tickets. We got to do something about these surcharges. You know how much those tickets were? $370 a piece. I'm out. I don't care if he blows me at the end of the show. That's not.
That is policy though. So
I mean, and I don't even think. Here's the thing too. Like, I don't think they're making that money.
Yeah.
I think it's like Ticketmaster, and because I know at least for Tom, like whatever the tickets were like $225 or something. I think that he set the price at like $120 or something was the most, and then like the venue or somebody was like, okay, but these 3 rows at the very front that we decide what those ticket prices are. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely don't. I'm not going to pay that. I can't afford that kind of stuff. But
it was like, for me, it's like, it's literally my favorite comedian.
Right.
And I had that moment like sitting in front of the computer. I'm like, what am I doing with my life here? I don't need to buy these. But I'm like, if not now, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, one day I'm going to be on a podcast. I'm going to be able to tell them that I balled out and bought $500 of fucking tickets. But
there it is.
But when a dude stares at you the whole time who you look up to, and like, you know, that's a weird thing too. If I was hanging out, if you were Tom right now, I swear to God, I wouldn't like fan out or geek out or nerd out, because I've met all my idols and they've either been huge letdowns or just like totally regular people. They've never been, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. You seem like you might get more excited than me, but I think it's because I'm a little bit dead inside. But I just, you know what I mean? Like, dude, Burt McCracken from The Used. The Used is my favorite band, favorite national band. And like I've hung out with him. Okay, that's not true. I was on his tour bus for like 2 hours and had a long conversation with him. Like, I don't know. The magic died for me. He was a very nice guy, but like, you build him up to be, oh, it's fucking snowing, St. Louis weather. You know what I mean? Like that was the time the music died for me. He did okay. This is a lot of people are afraid to talk shit, as they should be. I'm just gonna talk some shit, and if he hears this in Australia, he said some Kanye shit where like we were talking, and I was like, who? Like, you know, I was interested in like. Now looking back, I was probably asking some dumb questions, but I was like, what is your favorite band? Like, what do you listen to? And he like, this is a Kanye thing. He like leaned over and he's like, you know who my fucking favorite band is? I was like, no, who? Who's your favorite band, Bert? The Used. I'm like, oh, that's like Kanye, you know?
Sure.
Fuck. And that, like, he was really awesome, but like, just that little thing just killed the like fanboyness in me, you know?
Right.
So anyway, Tom, if you're out there, let's hang out. You know, I won't make it weird.
Yeah.
I think this will reach Tom. I bet it will.
He's a big fan,
Tom's
actually.
listening,
So we're huge in Australia.
Let's make a pact right now. Next time he comes in town, if you happen to get him, we could like joint podcast it, and I'll offer the same. If I land him on mine, you could have him.
All right. Deal.
Okay. You can't get weird though. All right. All right. That's the shake. That's official.
Yeah. I mean, even, you know, like I said with Dan too, like, I mean, I think that's where I've gotten some of the.
Don't compare Dan Marsala
I'm just.
to Tom Segura. How dare you?
Right. I'm just saying, I think that's where I've gotten a lot of the opportunities that I have because I just treat these people like humans. And like, I try not to super fanboy. Inside, I might be doing some of that, you know, but like I try to just be cool and like, and so. But no, again, man, it's still super cool. And afterwards, I'm like, holy shit, that really happened, man. Like, I've been in the room with some really cool people and just sit and talk, and it's pretty wild to think about. So,
yeah, you're 100% on it, and it's like, I think the thing for me more than fanboying out is like sometimes I just get distracted by their beauty, you know.
Sure.
Like Dan Marsala, hot tip, has the most beautiful eyes you ever. When you're with him in real life, you just stare into his eyes. You're like, yeah, I'd sign you to a major record label on those eyes alone. You know.
Yep.
The same thing happened when George Clooney was in town for Up in the Air. He stayed at the Chase Park Plaza. My friends, shout out to the Tenderloin Room. My friends own the Tenderloin Room. They sold it recently, but and so he would get drinks there every night, lots of drinks, and. So my friend Mary, shout out to Mary Powers, she gave me a hot tip to come. She's like, he's here, come see him. And that dude, first of all, he's like a quarter-size human. Like they do some trickery in like movies and shit to make him look full size, but he's tiny. And also, he doesn't walk. I'm not joking when I say this. The dude floats. Like something about like the way that he looks lighter than like regular people. And I remember seeing him. I wasn't like, I didn't fanboy out on that, but I just couldn't stop staring at the beauty of the man. You know what I mean? Like, and you're like, sometimes, you know, people like these fucking actors don't, you know, they don't deserve it's like, dude, that dude deserves something more than the rest of us because he's like a different thing, you know, like some sort of like alien subspecies of like beautiful person. So anyway, I get a little bit weird like that, you know, with guests. But you
want to hear my Tom?
Yeah,
not my my George Clooney story.
Yeah,
it's not even my story, but he told a story, and it's one of my favorite moments. And because it kind of goes to show like how cool and down to earth he is too. Like, and it could have been all bullshit. Who knows? But he was. Remember him telling a story about like years ago. He like had a roommate and like his roommate had a cat, and they had like the litter box like next to the toilet, and like he said, like, you know, when he'd go to the bathroom, he'd see if the cat went to the bathroom, like he would just like scoop it in the toilet and hit flush, and then his like roommate's like thinks his cat's like not going to the bathroom at all, and he's like, so he's, you know, every day he's like starts getting panicked that his cat's not shitting in the litter box, and then so he said something about it, like gives the cat X-Lax or what, you know, kind of type of thing. And then so then George says he go one day, then he shit in the litter box and then like left it for his buddy. And
George shit in the litter box?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
what a
then,
sweetheart.
Yeah. So like I was like, that's a pretty good move. And then he's like, I said his, you know, roommate came home and was like, "Good Lord, kitty." You know, like, so yeah, it's I don't know. I thought that was fun because like he's, you know, just a jokester. Like it seems like he seems like that kind of guy, like that you could just have a drink with and have fun with and stuff. Like even though he's one of the biggest movie stars and everything else, but
yeah, he was definitely I mean, I don't know. Those kinds of dudes, I think, like live on a different planet, though. You know, I can't imagine. I don't know. Who knows?
yeah. Well,
If you're out there, George,
yeah, call
me and
in.
Shane are looking to have a drink.
Call in, George.
Call in.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Well, you can find all things Jordan Phoenix at jordanphoenix.com. You can hit subscribe on the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast or wherever you're listening to this show.
Wherever you do it.
Yeah, man. And what do you stick to a regular schedule with yours or?
Every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? Like, not for you because you do fucking 20 a week or whatever, but
Sometimes.
for us once a weekers, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I appreciate when I listen to podcasts, I'm like, I got my shit down, you know, Tiger Belly's on Fridays. I lied. Tiger Belly's on Wednesday. I can't riff right now, but I got all my things I know every day, and so I don't want to be any different. So yeah, come check my shit out on Wednesdays.
Sure.
I'd say we're batting like, I don't know baseball. We're hitting like 90% good. There'll be one for every, you know, there's 2 bad podcasts right now. We're at 20. That's good. You know, that's good odds.
Sure.
Fucking roll the dice, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, and let me say this too. Right now, thank you for listening to me being on Shane's podcast. This will mean a lot to Shane. Don't just give him a 5-star review. Go on there and like write some words out because that shit matters more. Even if it, you know, is talking shit, just give him 5 stars and say the podcast is mediocre. But I think like that's a thing. I always ask people like, give me those 5-star reviews, but take a little bit of time to just be like, you know, listen to this podcast. It was cool like that. That means a lot to us, us podcasters, and yeah, that's my PSA for comments.
Yeah, do it. That's one of my favorites. I used to love listening to Crab Feast when they would, you know, fuck the Crab Feast, 5 stars, and all, you know, just like So,
yeah. Worst podcast ever, 5 stars. Give me those all the time. I love them. You know what I mean? Like, just say something. You know.
Yep. Yeah, man. Well, before we get out of here, I've been asking some of these questions, and they're fun for me just to get some random answers out of people. But do you have and this could be film or podcast, whatever you want to answer. But do you have a dream collaboration? Or guest? I guess it could be a guest for the podcast or anything. Or
yeah, well, fuck Tom Segura.
Yeah,
come on, Tom. We'll do your mom's house Jordan Phoenix show collab. Yeah.
There it is.
No, I mean there's too many people to name people that I would love to work with, but but you know.
Yeah, well, let's make it happen. I believe in self-fulfilled prophecy, so hopefully we'll make it happen.
Yeah, you gotta set the mark somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You know,
put it out there. Do you do any celebrity impressions?
Man, I do, but I'm not prepared for that. Plus, my throat's really been killing me, so we'll pass on that.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of things poorly, so it's a long list of poor impressions.
Yeah. What's your strangest fear, Jordan?
What am I fearing? Strangest fear. This isn't good radio. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna leave a lot of dead air. We can cut this out.
Don't worry. We'll take it in carry and post.
What am I afraid of? That's embarrassing. It's not. I don't know if it's strange. Oh, I know one. This is a good one. That's a good one. Terrified of cold broccoli. Love broccoli steamed, but I had a traumatic incident happen to me that I genuinely can't tell you what it was, except that I know that there's like a blank spot in my memory in 5th grade involving like one of those salads that like has like mayonnaise and fucking like raisins and stuff and cold broccoli. But literally, if you brought like cold broccoli, like a cold broccoli salad out in front of me right now, I would throw up. So I would consider that a fear.
That's some white people shit.
Broccoli salad?
Yeah.
Super fucking white people shit, right?
Raisins and mayonnaise. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that even called a salad?
Right.
Is what if it doesn't have lettuce in it, it's not a salad to me. Anyway.
Do you have a celebrity crush?
Male or female?
Either way.
Either way.
I don't judge.
Man. Dude, see, it's embarrassing. All my answers are going to be Tom Segura, you know?
Yeah. Mine are still pretty much the same from middle school. Kelly Kapowski and
Sure.
and Topanga. So it's like,
Yeah, Topanga kind of aged out for me, but definitely there was a moment, where she was all I could think about for sure. Damn, who's the hot shit now? I mean, this is a weird thing. This doesn't really answer your question, but more just commentary. I remember being a kid and thinking it was so weird that like old people wouldn't think that like a 16 or 17 or 18-year-old was attractive, you know? Well, maybe that's creepy to say 16. Well, let's say 18, 19, 20-year-old. But like now, being 33, like I'm genuinely into ladies the exact same age as me or much older as I've always been, you know? And like chicks that are like 18, 19, 20, I do not find attractive at all. I mean, I can understand the beauty, but like, you know, the same way I can understand the beauty of a beautiful man, but like
Dan Marcel's
like
eyes.
yeah, you get lost in those fuckers. But yeah, it's just strange. And so I'm wondering like at what age will I, you know what I mean? Like when I'm 80, am I only going to think that like 80-year-old chicks are hot, you know? Like
Probably.
I don't know. Can we get some listener feedback? Will you guys let us know? Are there any like you got a wide audience, right?
Tweet at us right now.
Yeah.
If you're,
what's the handle? Tweet them at
Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast. Let us know. Jordan wants to know.
Yep.
What kind of deviants we got out there?
Phone lines are lighting up. Well, yeah, man, that's about it. Just like those fun questions for me. One more though. We'll close it on this one. What's a movie or TV show you wish you were in?
Movie or TV show I wish I was in? A movie? Anything David Fincher, anything Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was like,
I still need to watch it. I'm a huge Tarantino fan. I'm ashamed I haven't got to watch it yet, but
here's the thing about the movie. Don't watch it late at night because it's one of those things where it's an incredible movie, but like a lot of good things, it's a little slow to get started. And, you know, so watch it amped up. The dude, it's incredible that guy's never made a bad movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, who does that? I think he's fucking retiring soon, I think. I think he said
that's what he acts
he's
like.
got like one more in him or something, and then he's going to, you know.
I heard a story. It was on Stern. And who knows? Who knows what? But he was saying something on there about possibly Tarantino directing a Star Trek movie or something like that. And I was like,
Star Trek?
yeah.
Wow.
So because
Heard
they
it
were
here
talking
first.
about it with George Takei. So I think it was like a repeat and things. But like, so who knows when he said that? But I was like, that could be interesting. I don't know how weird.
I'm not a Trekkie dude, but yeah, I mean, I would be for Tarantino. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. It's an interesting. It makes you wonder, like, well, is he gonna like stay true to that, or is he gonna make it his own thing, or it's like, so it's interesting to think about for sure. But who knows if that'll happen or not? But
Yeah, and anything weird, I'm into trying it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, he's one of my. I had the Bad Motherfucker wallet for quite a while, but yeah, he's definitely one of my favorites for sure. Like,
dude, Pulp Fiction is one of those movies. It might be like my favorite movie of all time. It's also a movie I cannot sit all the way through. I think just because it's been on like TV movies and shit. Like, I love that movie, but I'm not even sure I know chronologically what happens when. Because I just love to watch like 20 minutes of it.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I like want to see this scene. But I can't remember the last time I watched that whole fucking movie all the way through.
yeah, the dialogue is amazing in that though. Like just some of the riffing back and forth between Sam Jackson and John Travolta and everything like is just
dude, that
the best.
him, Tarantino, and your boy Kevin Smith. Those two guys really, for me, their dialogue.
My boy.
Yeah, you're hanging out.
Yeah.
You guys are podcasting
All right.
together.
Yeah, man.
No, I mean, yeah, just like you're like, oh, a movie can be that too.
Yeah.
You know, it can be this like clever, quippy, like, you know, it just fucking it makes you realize just like anything can be anything, you know? And we get stuck in these little like this has to be this and this over here has to be this and like let's leave it on this. I just heard this great thing. I'll actually let you leave your show wherever you want to leave your show. But let me leave my thoughts at this. We have all this cognitive shit going on, like stacking up all the stuff from the day, and so creativity is the ability to take all that stuff, you know, like, oh, I left the oven on and I just saw this chick walking down the side of the road and my coffee was too hot. It's able to take all that stuff that's like floating around in your head and create a narrative out of it. Like, that's what creativity is. And I heard that on a podcast and that blew my fucking mind. I'm like, that is so much what creativity is like just taking unrelated things and turning them into a linear narrative. That's like how everything has already been created. That's how new things are created. Is just like repurposing old things floating around in your fucking noggin. And anyway, that made me think of like Tarantino is very much that for me. Is these unrelated things that like become just like religion. You know, it's like beautiful. Anyway,
Yeah, I've heard something along the lines like that too. Like with they use like Seinfeld as the reference, but like how it says like on the script or in text, it's like Kramer walks through the door, and it's like what Kramer, the way he walks through the door and stuff. It's like that's all the creativity that him as that character and stuff, and like and different things. Like it's a single line of text, but the way he delivers it and everything else, like it's in so it's like it's.
Sometimes I get freaked out when I'm watching actors that are really good,
Right.
and I'm thinking about the lines that they're saying written out on a piece of paper, and I'm going, how the fuck did they think to do that based on those 8 words on a white piece of paper?
Right.
You know? That acting is bullshit, but like also incredible. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like in the same breath. Anyway,
Yeah, man.
let's go watch a movie.
Yeah, man. I'm in. Jordan, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor, man. I'm glad to be episode 4059 or
That's
wherever you're
it.
at.
Yeah, man. Exactly.
Makes you really feel special. Man, I need to get on these podcasts like episode 3. You
Yeah.
know? I'm like, I want to be one of 3. I'm like a nothing now on your goddamn infinite podcast.
All right. Yeah, sorry, man. I'll start a new podcast and then I'll have
Thank
you.
you.
There you go.
Just one
Yeah.
episode.
Jordan Phoenix Needs Friends, episode number 3. I'll have you on. I'll start that show for you,
Thank you.
and then I'll invite you on in the 3rd episode.
For those of you still listening, because we keep having false endings, which I like. I want to do a bunch of false
Right.
endings. please welcome. Just listen to one episode of my podcast, and if you don't like it, leave that 5-star rating.
All right.
Say it's the shittiest podcast ever, and then go fuck yourself.
Yep, that's it. All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Well, yeah, that was it.